Okay, for today's class, we'll be learning interaction in Figma for us to make our designs to have some kind of interaction. So whenever you want to do interaction, there are three things you need to have in mind. We have triggers, actions, and animations. So triggers are the event that causes a change. So examples of triggers, let me show you an example of trigger. So some of us already know a little bit about this, but let me show you. So for us to prototype, we'll go to our prototype over here. So let me delete this interaction I've added to this page. So once I click here, then I go over here. This is an example of a trigger. We have on click, on drag, while hovering, while pressing, mouse enter, mouse leave, mouse down, mouse up. So on click is basically when a user click on something. It can be a button, it can be a text, wherever. So if the user tap on it, an action is going to take place. On drag, when a user drag an element, it can also be swiping when interacting, when you're trying to do the interaction for mobile, because most times you will use on drag, but for you to interact with it on web, you have to drag your mouse. But for mobile, because this prototype link, you can actually send it to your you can actually view it on your mobile phone. For some of us that are using maybe iPhones or some Android phone that is and that has high functionality, you can preview this your prototype on your phone. So when using on drag on your mobile, you can just swipe your hand. So you just like on swipe for mobile. Then while hovering, when you are hovering um, on any element, it could be a button, it could be a text, it could be any element at all. While pressing, when you're pressing on something, then for key slash gamepad is when you're basically using your keyboards. You want an interaction to come up when somebody press on a particular key. Then mouse enter is when the person's mouse enter. For example, if my mouse enter a particular part of the screen, an interaction will take place. Then mouse leave, when my mouse leaves, mouse down. Mouse down is kind of similar to press. So you just click and an interaction will take off. Mouse up, just when you just basically click. Then after delay is basically when you don't want the person to either click or drag or interact with any element at all. So you use after delay. For example, there are some interactions that the user will not have to like click on anything. So let me show you what I mean. So let me duplicate this. So let me talk about the two benefits of prototyping our work. So why is good for us to whenever we finish designing, for us to come up with the interaction of the app is number one, we can actually use the prototype version of our design to test. For example, want to test our designs on real users, you can use your prototype to test. Another thing too is that it can also help your developers to know the flow of each screens, whether it's for a mobile app or for a desktop application. So let me show you what I mean by after delay. So this is a logo here. I'll just reduce the size of the logo. Let me just duplicate this. So I'll duplicate this, then I will scale it again. I'll scale it a bit, make sure it's in the center. And I'll duplicate this one again. Okay, now increase the size again. I want to ensure this is well aligned, so I will make sure the whole of this, they are well aligned. Because if it's not well aligned, it will actually affect the prototype, because I just want everything to be in the same place so that it will be as if they are all working together. So let me show you. So now I'll click on this and go back to my prototype. Then I'll click on the whole screen. So you can prototype either the whole screen or a particular element like this. So let's start with the whole screen first for this particular example. So I'll click here, then I'll drag this to the next screen. So the trigger I'm going to choose now, sorry. So the trigger I'm going to choose after delay, and I'm going to set the time. We'll just leave it at this 800 millisecond. I'll leave it at instant. So we'll try out instant dissolve on smart anime. Let's start with instant first. So I'll come over here. I'll just repeat the same thing here. I'll use after delay. I'll leave it at instant. Then I'll click here. Then I'll preview. Let me start that from the beginning. So I feel there's a little mistake there. So it looks like this is not well aligned. So why I notice a little mistake, because whenever it comes to design, my eyes are very, very sharp to notice error. So I just knew that this thing was not well aligned. So let me ensure all of them are well aligned so that the whole animation will work together. So there are some things that can affect your prototype. It can be the naming, especially when you're trying to use Smart Animate. We'll try out Smart Animate so that you understand what I'm explaining now. So most times when trying to prototype, especially when using Smart Animate, if you don't name your elements, give them the same name. For example, we're trying to prototype this three screens together. So if this has a different name, this one has a different name, and this one has a different, I want to use Smart Animate, it won't work very well. So another thing that can actually affect your prototyping is also your alignment too, your alignment. So let me try it again to see if it will come out the way I want. So let me refresh. Okay, so it's quite fast. So let me start it from the beginning. So it's quite fast, but it's better than the way it was. So now this is for instance. So let me try. I'll just duplicate this. Let me add the flow. I'll add the flow here. So this flow is basically used when you want to the prototype to start from a particular place. So I'll just add it here. I want to change the name of this flow to instant so that we'll see the difference between instant and smart animate. So let me click this. So I'll duplicate with my Alt or Option key if you're on Mac. So I'll go back to my prototype. I'll change the name of this to Smart Animate. So now I will quickly change the interaction. Sorry. So I'll click here. So here, instead of instance, let's try out smart animate. You can see smart animate. Inside smart animate, we have ease in, ease out, ease in and out, and the other one gentle, quick bounce, and the rest. So here, let me reduce the 800 milliseconds to 300, and I'll just leave this at 300. So I'll just repeat the same thing here. I'll change instant to smart animate, ease out, and 300 milliseconds. So let me ensure it's ease out here. So I'll just click here. And click here. So let me preview it. Let me preview it so that we can see the difference. So preview. So let's start with instance. Move this over. So let's start with the instance. So let's start from the beginning here. So you can see the way instance is, then you can see the way smart animate animation is. So let's try it again. Then smart animate. So let me go back to this smart animate as I'm feeling there's a little issue here. So let me just use ease out. Let me see if there'll be a difference. So let me preview again. So let me verify if my elements are named the same way. As I'm feeling there was a little error there. Okay, so all elements are the same. Okay, so let's go back to okay, so here is for instance. So here is for smart animate. We'll try another example so that we can see the difference more better. So let's go back to the three things you need to take note of when doing interaction. So first we have triggers, which is the event that causes a change. So example of triggers is our on tap, on click, on drag, while pressing, while hovering, mouse enter, all those stuff that was there. Then action, the action is the change that is happening. So it's either somebody is navigating to a particular page or there is an overlay or somebody swipe on something. So action is like after you finish creating your interaction, the result of that interaction. So that's like the action. Then animation. So animation is the behavior of the change. We have instance, we have dissolve, we have smart animate, moves in, move out. So we're going to see all of this in play. So let's start from the beginning. to animate this app. So I made mention of two importance of coming up with interaction for your designs. Number one, I said it helps the developers. You can actually use the prototype of your design to test on real users. So the thing is that most times when you prototype your work, especially when you are designing like a complex systems, so because we all know that as a product designer, you'll not just be designing only apps. There are sometimes you'll be hired to design some complex systems that has thousands of pages, thousands of interactions. Most of each pages have different functionalities, and most times prototyping might not actually cover the whole of that functionality. So just be with me, my explanation, you will understand. So in a situation where you're designing like a very huge system and you want the developer to like understand how each screen connects with one another. So there are some cases that prototyping and making interaction, which is creating the prototype of your designs, might work, just like what we started with this page, creating like a prototype of the work. There are some cases it might work, but there are some cases it might not work in the aspect of like making your developers to understand the different flows of each screen. So in an instance where you're designing a very huge system, so there is this plugin. Let me right click here and go to let me go to my manage plugin. So there is this plugin called Autoflow. So this is it here. So though there are other ones that does the same thing, but this is the one I'm used to. So I'll just install it here. So how this plugin works is that just like the scenario I just cited earlier. So for example, this is a complex system because most times interaction of an app is kind of simple, but right now we're talking about a situation where you design a very huge system that has dashboard, website, pop-ups, thousands of pop-ups. So, and you want to explain each flow or each screen to your developer. So this auto flow comes in handy. So let me say, for example, now we want to prototype. We want to make the user and the developer understand how each of these service we listed here. This is the service page. We have TV subscription, buy airtime, electricity bill, and buy internet data. So we want to explain to the user how each of these links to their particular screen so that they will understand the flow. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll click on this. So let's start with buy airtime. So I'll click on this, hold down my shift. I'll click on the element I want to prototype. I'm sorry, I want to explain the user flow. So I'll click on this, then hold down shift, click on this next one. So you can see it has brought out an arrow. So for you to see the arrow very well, let me give the arrow a particular color so that we'll see it clearly. I don't know if you can see the arrow. So this way now, it comes in very handy. So let me say I want to interact. I want to explain the flow of orders because there are some pages that have thousands of, there are some designs rather that has thousands of screens and pages. So in most cases, especially when you're trying to do your developer's hands off, prototyping it might not really explain better. So let's do another one. So let's close this place. So now I want to link the pay electricity bill to this place here. I have electricity bill here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll click on this electricity bill. I'll right click. Remember, I've installed the autoflow plugin. So when I right click, I'll come to my plugins, then click on autoflow. So when I click on autoflow now, I will zoom in, then go to the place I want to link. Remember, the place I I want to link from is already selected. So that place is selected. Then I'll hold down shift and click to the one I want to link with. So you can see now, it has created an arrow. So let me change the color of the arrow. So you can change the color of the arrow, and you can also leave annotations, because one major thing you need to know about one major thing, please, can you all hear me? Are we all following? If you can hear me and you can understand so far, say something in the chat section. I want to be sure I'm being heard. Okay, so let's continue. So one major thing you need to know about communicating your designs to developers is that there are some scenarios where you need to leave annotations. So what I mean by annotation is that, for example, this let me zoom in. So here we said electricity bill, it links to this particular place. So there are sometimes you need to like give a little bit of explanation so that the developer will understand some things about the functionality of this particular page. So this plugin gives us opportunity for us to give annotation. So you can see this is the second one I created. There's a place where you can write annotation here. So let me say, for example, the annotation I want to leave. Annotation, it can be any explanation at all, depending on the functionality of the digital product. So right now, for this particular page now, I will say when the user taps on the electricity bill button, the page swipes from below, or let me just say the page moves in. So now for me to see what I've written, so you can see it here. This application, this plugin rather, give us opportunity for us to write annotation. So this is an example of an annotation. So remember, your annotation can be anything. It can be, it's always in line with what your the future of each screen can be. Because there are some things that made just one important of leaving annotation is like this, is that there are sometimes your design, just to be sure everybody's hearing me, okay? So there are sometimes that when you design, your design might not fully explain its functionality. Your design might be functional, but you need to like go extra mile to communicate what each screen is talking about so that they can understand how to develop it. So that's the importance of like leaving annotation. So this is how most things happen in real life. So I'll come. So this is an example of an annotation. So I can click here. I can change the font, change the font weight, change the font size. So this is just like a normal test. So maybe I will change the font width of this to 24. Then click here. Then press enter. Sorry, let me do Control Z. Let me close this. So I'll click here, press enter, and I'll leave it closed on top of this arrow. So if a developer is trying to code this application, so because they are seeing the arrows and the connection we made, they'll know that, okay, from electricity bill, the page is down, especially when we arrange our elements, our pages like this. So everything to be very easy for the developers to understand what each page is all about. So now let's just do like two last song with this flow so that we'll understand how it works. So, so now for the lead and user to come to this page now, choose network. So it's when they click on this drop down arrow here. So I'll click on the drop down arrow, then I'll right click, go to the plugin, then click on auto flow. So this thing I'm just mentioning about auto flow is very important because it will actually help you to look like a professional. So remember, sorry, I clicked on this place, then I hold down shift because you always need to hold down shift so that it can connect. So let me do like 2 more. And I'll come here and here. Then I'll click on the button. What will happen? The user tap on this button. So I'll first of all click on the elements, right click here, then go to plugins, click on the auto flow. Then for me to actually, the one I'm using, so this auto flow has like 3 different lines you can use. It has this straight line, this line that has curved edges, and this one. So the one I like using is this last one here, and the curve is this one, this first one in this second line. That's the one I prefer using. So remember, it's a button. So now I want to connect this progress and proceed to this page. So I'll hold down shift, then click here. So once you click here, it will connect the arrow. So another thing you need to know that this arrow, the weight, you can increase the weight of the arrow the same way we increase the weight of our line. So let me do what I mean. So this is the arrow here. So this is the arrow here. So I can increase the weight of the arrow to 10. You can see it's very thick. So let's just leave it at 3. Kind of feel the color of this arrow is not visible. So let me increase the color to reddish pink so that we can see it clearly. So do anyone have any question? If you have any question, you can ask in the chat section. Okay. So yeah, so that's it for auto flow. So let's do a little bit of somebody trying to say something. So let's do a little bit of our interaction. Yeah, somebody is asking if autoflow is different from prototyping in Figma. Yes, it's different. So let me explain the difference again. So remember what I said. The prototyping, when you prototype your work, you can use your prototype link. So let me show you what I mean. Sorry, just give me a sec. Let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. So now let me click on this prototype we did for this splash screen. So I'll click here, this preview button here to preview. So now if you look this prototype page, this place we came, as I clicked on preview, you can see it generated a link here. I don't know if you can see the link here in my browser. So this link, you can send it if, for example, you want to test your design, or you want to see how your, for example, you design a mobile app. Now you want to see how your mobile app design looks on your real phone, like the phone you do use. You can send this link to yourself. You can use maybe your WhatsApp, and send this link to yourself, then tap on the link. It will open on your phone, on your mobile phone. So with this link now, you can also use this link to like, this is like the prototype link, because after you finish creating the interaction, that was like the prototype of the work that looks similar to the develop part of it, but it's not yet developed, it's just the prototype. So you can use that prototype link and send it to users if you want to test it, for them to interact with your design. And you can also use that prototype link so that developers can understand the flow of each screen. So why I introduce us to auto flow? Why I introduce us to auto flow is because there are some scenarios where the prototype cannot do justice to explaining the flow of each screen or each pages. So there are some scenarios that, and for you to understand each functionalities, the user flow of the whole design, you don't need to use prototype, because prototype will not do justice to that. Don't worry, by the time you start handling different projects, what I'm saying now will become more clear. So you need to use this auto flow so that the developer which is developing it is going to understand how each screen flows with the next one, like from here to this one, so they understand what they are developing, and they're so then to also understand the functionality of each page. So that's why I introduced us to this auto flow, because it also gives us way for us to add like annotations, because annotation we can't do that in prototype. In the normal interaction, it's just for them to click here, click here, click here. So here is like explaining to the developer the user flow. Like if the user click here, they'll move to this one. This one is kind of very easier for developers to um for them to use, because it's just on the Figma file. There's no need for them to start going to the prototype link and start interacting. So I don't know if what I explained answers your question. Okay. So yes, let's just do a little bit of prototype. So before we call it a day, we'll continue from here in our next class. So let me just so I think there's an important information IK will pass to us about our capstone project. So our capstone project is coming up very soon, and it's only people that reach the level 8 that are going to be involved in the capstone project. So for some of us that have not been so for some of us that has not been taking the assignment serious, you might not graduate. So that's just it. So this is a very, very serious information. So I think IK is going to explain to us better. Please, IK, are you on the call? Ike? So I think Ike will explain to us later about it. So there are some of us that even if you are part of the capstone project, if you are like a ghost member of the group you are going to be belonging to, you will not still be given your certificate. But because there are some people, when they will be added to a particular group, for them to join their group mates to develop either an app or whatever project you'll be given, they will not be active. You will not still graduate. You will not be giving certificates. So Ike will be explaining to us later about it. So let's just continue with this. So just continue with this. So this announcement I just gave now is very serious because there are some of us. The last assignment I gave out of thousands of people is only eight people that did that promotional tax, and it's so as well. So from this splash screen, so this one, I'm not going to do the interaction from the logo. I'll click here, connect to this page. So here is going to be after delay. So I'll make this 200. So one thing about this timing is that the slower it is, the more faster the lesser this number is, the more faster. The higher it is, the more slower it will be. So I'll show you what I mean. So the next thing now is we're going to make use of the on click. So when the user click on continue with sign up, so I'll link it here. So just use I'll make use of instance. So when the user is here, so this is a state when so when the user click on login, okay, sorry, I did the wrong interaction. So let me delete. So this one is continue without signing up. So this will lead the user to the home page, which is here. So that will be on click. So here, user click on sign up, and so link them here. Send the user here. So let's just preview the one we've just done. So come here, click here. So let's just preview. So continue. Let me just go back. Sign in. Sign in, so it links. So there's something I'm missing here. Okay, so when the user creates the account, they'll be asked to log in. So this will be on click. So once they tap on the login button, they'll come to the login page. So let's just leave it at this for this class. Let's preview. So I'll go back again. Sign in. And click on button. Okay. Let me connect us to here. So we'll just be stopping here for today's class. So that will be all for today's class, guys. So we'll continue from here in our next class. So I know this particular one I just explained, I know some of us already know about this. So because of the assignment we did, so in our next class, we'll just start with overlay. Because I know overlay is kind of the complex one. So start with overlay. How to do overlay. So yeah, so that will be all for today's class, guys.